So, good morning and welcome to this Black Talk Radio News commentary. Of course, my name is Scotty Reid. And as I always kick off a broadcast, just to let people know where I am in the world, I'm behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. And during this episode, I just want to ask people to make a case, an intelligent case, not an emotional case, but make a case for why you're voting for either Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, or if you're like me and you're voting for Jill Stein. Who do you have in this race? Do you got the felon? That's Donald Trump. Do you got the physician, Jill Stein, or do you have a war criminal, Kamala Harris? So that's what I'm interested in talking about this morning for the duration of this live. Welcome to those who have joined us here this morning. So I don't know if you've seen the latest news, but Barack Obama, yesterday it appears, according to some of the news coming out this morning, is trying to shame black men. And as a person who's been paying attention to politics and these individual characters on the national stage for a very long time, going back to when I first joined the U.S. military in 1987, Reagan was president, and me joining the military as a young man, I think I was 20 years old. Yeah, I was 20 years old. Something just inside of me said, you need to pay attention to these people. You need to be keeping up with the news. You need to tune in to talk radio, even if it's Rush Limbaugh, because back in those days, we didn't really have any progressive talk radio. We didn't have any wide access to the internet. Personal computers were very expensive back then. And so I knew that these people had the power to send me to war, to send me to help unalive people, I think I should say, unalive people as well as get unalive myself. So I felt like I should pay attention. So that's how long I've really been paying attention to politics. And I do remember Barack Obama very, very well, all the things that he said throughout his campaign, all throughout his first two terms. And he has always been condescending to black men specifically, but I would say black people in general. He has spoken to us in condescending bourgeoisie terms. And this morning I'm reading the news about him trying to shame black voters, and I can read a little bit from a news article about the things he said, but I'm like, why does he not have smoke for these Jewish voters who are voting for Donald Trump? A couple of Jewish billionaires have given a tremendous amount of money to Donald Trump. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu loves Donald Trump. We saw Donald Trump out there with the yarmulke on and everything. But where's the smoke from Barack Obama for that block of voters? Where's that smoke? There's also Hispanic people that are reportedly voting for Donald Trump. Where's his smoke for them? It's always black men. I don't know if y'all remember, but if you were paying attention, remember he gave, I think it was the commencement speech or whatever at HBCU, a historically black college and university. That didn't go over too well in the black press. Him talking down to them, engaging in the same stereotypical comments we hear from racists in this country, okay? And I know when we say racism or call somebody a racist or whatever, that's a very triggering word. And in counter-racism circles, we actually say when speaking in public, we shouldn't use that word, the R word. Is there another word we could use? Discriminatory, stereotypical? Yeah, but, I've seen a number of Democrats engage in this type of racist rhetoric, but people don't call it racism. Like I said to someone who commented on one of my videos earlier today, there's racism in both parties. The thing about Republicans today is that, and people like Donald Trump, they're more openly overt with their racism, but those in the Democratic Party are more refined in the ways that they practice racism. But they definitely practice racism, and anybody who says that they don't just really doesn't pay attention. They have a narrow focus. And I would say that's with the majority of Americans. We only start paying attention to politics during election time. And then Americans, the majority of Americans, do not turn out for those midterm elections. I haven't missed a vote, either a presidential election or a midterm election, since I first started voting in I believe it was 1998 is when I cast my first vote. I can't remember. Yeah, because, I didn't get registered to vote till after I joined the military, so I was 20 years old. Yeah, so anyway, I just want people to come up and make an intelligent case, not an emotional case. I'm not into identity politics. That's another criticism that I've heard people level at Barack Obama this morning, and it's very valid criticism. Why you want to bring skin color into it? Why you want to try to shame black men? And then also there's black women that's voting for Trump. I just had some Blacks for Trump reach out to my digital radio network, blacktalkradionetwork.com. Go check us out there. Support independent black media. My voice isn't the only one on there, but you'll find other voices on there. And you can support all of us by just hitting that donate tab if you go to blacktalkradionetwork.com. But yeah, let me go ahead and just get into what Barack Obama had to say. I see we got some people in the comments calling people Putin puppets and all of that. Please spare me the campaign rhetoric of Hillary Clinton, looking to blame somebody for why she lost. Do you know she blamed black men too? They blamed black men back then. Also, during that campaign, they tagged like Black Agenda Report, and I know the publishers and made they rest in peace, the two main founders, but it's still being run. I forget Kim's last name, but I know a couple of the writers on Black Agenda Report. They got blacklisted. They got put on a list saying they had connections to the Russia. We called it Russia gating. It was a number of independent websites, and they targeted them in anti-democratic or anti-First Amendment speech rights. So that please spare me the Russia gating. And I would ask a person, what you got against Putin? Putin ain't never called me the N-word. Okay, Putin ain't never called me a super predator like Hillary Clinton did. Putin and Russia didn't colonize Africa. The Russians didn't, the Russian KGB didn't assassinate African leaders when they were fighting for their independence. So, spare me the talking points of that loser and racist Hillary Clinton. And anybody that says she's not a racist, then you weren't paying attention. You weren't paying attention to the policies that she supported in helping her husband, President Bill Clinton, during this time. Anybody say Bill Clinton isn't a racist, you again haven't been analyzing policy or paying attention to politics. So, you saying that a person is a Putin puppet simply because they don't go along with the insanity of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I would say, that is the case with many people on the Democratic plantation. I can't speak to the Republican plantation. It is a plantation. And in terms of us black people, why are we arguing with each other about who has the better plantation? Think about that. Just imagine in your mind, you're back in, let's say, 1850. And you're being enslaved on one plantation, and then down the road, there's another plantation. And so then you just happen to come across some victims of slavery from the opposing plantation, and then you're going to argue with each other about which one has the better master. My master treat me better than y'all master. That's what y'all sound like to me. I'm an unaffiliated voter. I've never belonged to a political party, but I will be joining the Green Party. I will be joining the Green Party because their platform reflects my values. The Democratic Party is simply a cheap knockoff, and they try to rip off policies from the Green Party, but they never are able to follow through with them. But let me get back to Obama. So this is what Obama had to say. And let me just say this. I probably will do the interview with the black woman from the Blacks for Trump. I'll probably do that interview on Black Talk Radio Network. I'm still waiting on them to forward me an article that was published in a newspaper or publication up there in Indiana. And if they agree to, my conditions, which my conditions are, I don't do scripted interviews. I'm, like the Biden administration sent that black woman who was on WURD radio station up there in Pennsylvania and got her fired because they came up with the questions and she allowed that. That's not an interview. That is not an interview, and I'm not going to go soft on anyone. And I'm a ask the hard questions because I, do not support Donald Trump either. But getting back to Obama calls out the brothers and wants us to vote for Harris. And he's talking about those sitting out. One of the things they're talking about is some black people don't want to vote. And I am actually canvassing in the state of North Carolina right now. I am part of or working for an organization to get out the vote. But we're focused on turning on North Carolina politics. And I do support all the Democrats running for state races here in North Carolina. But I draw the line at POTUS. I cannot support people whose policies are offensive to me. I cannot support people, who just, their values, I don't share their values. But I did come across a woman, a black woman. I think she was in her 60s, but she wasn't on my canvas list. Her daughter was, so I guess she was staying with her daughter. I didn't get to speak to her daughter, but one of the things she told me was, I don't fool with politics. And, I understand why a lot of people don't engage in politics in the United States, or they don't vote. They don't believe they vote make a difference. And to be honest with you, it hasn't made a difference. What major changes can we point to that have really made a difference in the majority of Americans' lives, regardless of skin color? Both the parties are the puppets of oligarchs. Those that don't know what oligarchs are, those are what we call corporate heads. Your billionaires like Elon Musk and what's the guy that owns Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and that's who run those platforms. You think these people give all of this money and they're not getting priority and getting action on the stuff that they want passed? So the Democrats or the Republicans, neither one of those support us, the American working people, as well as the poor. They talk a lot about the middle class, but a lot of people are not in the middle class. A lot of people are what we would call in lower class. And then let's acknowledge we have a class system. And so when you're just talking about the middle class, then you're not talking about all Americans, okay? But Obama calling us out, I understand why people don't vote. My only reply to them, and I didn't say this to that woman because I was out there working for an organization, and it wasn't on me to tell her, to convince her to vote. I wasn't going to get in that argument, but if I was to make that argument, I would say local politics matter. Local politics matter. That district court judge that you go before for traffic tickets, for any kind of type of tickets, or charges, that district court judge has the power to put you into modern day slavery or set you free. So, and I was just remarking the other day that, I've never seen district court judges debate. I've never seen a forum where you had district court judges sitting on, in a forum and taking audience taking audience questions. I've never seen that. And that is a position that has the most power over our lives. Okay? And so local politics matter. And I do believe in voting. And again, in North Carolina, I will support a straight Democratic ticket, but I'm running with Jill Stein for POTUS. But this is what Barack Obama had to say. This is what Barack Obama had to say. So this was during a campaign rally stop in Pittsburgh this past Thursday. So yeah, that was yesterday. And he appeared to admonish Black Americans who have not been as fervent in their support for Vice President Kamala Harris' presidential bid as they were for his in 2008 and 2012. He stopped at a campaign office in the Steel City before taking the stage with Senator Robert P. Casey Jr., a Democrat in Pennsylvania, obviously later in the afternoon. The prominent Democrat said he has noticed a difference in the excitement surrounding the current Democratic nominee, particularly among African Americans. So let's stop right there and let's review this. Barack Obama is the first person classified as Black, so let me qualify his Blackness. But he's the first in the system of white supremacy. We got three classifications. We got white supremacists, aka racists. Then we got white people, and then everybody else is non-white. Okay, and I don't think Barack Obama really has any roots. This dude didn't grow up in Black America. He didn't face the same struggle that Black Americans face, but he was the first one. They sold us this story about him being a community organizer. The Republicans messed up when they painted him as some kind of Marxist or leftist or socialist, when the dude never ever did anything to make you think that he supports democratic socialism like a Bernie Sanders did, like a Jesse Jackson did, like a Martin Luther King did. That was never Barack Obama, but the Republicans attacking him as such made some people think that, oh, yeah, this dude might really care about the working class. But a lot of that, for the good to the bad, a lot of Black people turned out, as well as other people of other racial classifications turned out, because he was the first Black person to actually have a chance to win the election for president. He was the first one. So a lot of that was based on identity. It was based on skin color, right? And again, some people put a lot of stock in that. I understand the psychology of it. When you have grown up with all of these anti-Black images, when all of this anti-Black propaganda, you feel like you got to prove something to the MAGA crowd or whatnot. Oh, we got a Black president. He went to Harvard and all this and that. But what material, tangible things do we get from that? I mean, Clarence Thomas Black too. I'm here in North Carolina. We got the atrocious Black Republican Mark Robinson. Skin color don't mean nothing. Character do. I mean, Martin Luther King told us to not judge people based on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Character matters, right? But that's the reason there was so much fervent support for Barack Obama in 2008. And let's not forget also, we were coming out of the Bush administration. You know, they had just told a bunch of lies about Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. A bunch of people murdered and killed, Iraqis and others killed. I was in the Gulf War. I had a top secret security clearance, and I knew all of the civilian deaths that were occurring from U.S. 2,000-pound bombs being dropped on these residential areas. Go look it up. I mean, it's public knowledge now for anybody that cares to look. We just had Mike Miller, one of Biden's White House press secretaries, in excusing the record-setting bombing campaign that the Israelis are committing against the Palestinians in Gaza, now in the West Bank. Now they want to spread it to Lebanon, and have actually yesterday, I believe, or the day before yesterday, attacked UN peacekeepers. Okay? So we were coming out the Bush administration, but speaking of the Bush administration, y'all remember Dick Cheney, you know, the architect of the invasion of Iraq. Some would say the chief architect of the lie. Okay, guess who he's endorsing? Who is the war criminal, unindicted war criminal, Dick Cheney, throwing his support behind, as well as his neoconservative daughter. Both of them with affiliations to the Heritage Foundation. And yes, I've known about the Heritage Foundation and what they do from listening to right-wing radio and watching or getting glimpses of right-wing evangelical radio. Remember Pat Robertson? And I'm going to be nice. I ain't going to say nothing about where I hope he's at right now. But yeah, guess who they're endorsing? Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is endorsed by Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney. A number of the Reagan staff members have endorsed her. It's a lot of Republicans that's endorsing Kamala Harris. She's even pandering to them by even offering to make one of them a part of her candidate. Doesn't that give you pause? Doesn't that make you think? It should make you think, why are these people supporting Kamala Harris? If there's such a major difference between the two parties or the two plantations, then why? What's going on? Are you paying attention? Are you critically thinking about these things? So getting back to Barack Obama. And by the way, anybody can come up. I'm new to doing these sort of broadcasts on this particular platform, but I'm learning, and I just need to keep doing more of them, and I learn any more. But I'm open to an intelligent conversation from anyone on this, whether you're supporting Kamala Harris, whether you're supporting Donald Trump, whether you're supporting Jill Stein, whether you're supporting Cornel West. I just love democracy, man. I'm so glad in North Carolina, I think we got like 6 presidential candidates to choose from. And I'll say this about the Republicans. At least I don't see them spending tens of millions of dollars to kick Jill Stein, to kick Cornel West off the ballot. I mean, if I wanted to, I could frame Democrats as being racist for spending money to kick a black man off the ballot. That's anti-democracy. This is straight up hypocrisy. I'm sorry if I won't allow people to play in my face like that and think that I can trust them to bring about the change that I want to see. Okay? But Barack Obama thinks that we should be very fervent as black people and as black men specifically to vote for Kamala Harris. Look, I know there's a lot of people saying Kamala Harris isn't black. I know Candace Owens is claiming that Kamala Harris's father really isn't black. I'm not into that. I know she's not white. And in the context of white supremacy, there are three classifications: white supremacists, aka racists, white people. Not every white person is a racist or a white supremacist, but you do got to be white to be one. And then there are non-white people. Now, and further breaking it down, I think it was about 10 years ago, perhaps, I came up with the term proxy racism or proxy racist. And some people in counter racist circles don't like that term because they say it's name calling, and in a way it is kind of name calling. But sometimes we, like Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. said, have to come up with our own terms and our own words to describe that which we are seeing, because the white supremacists ain't gonna make them up for us. They don't want us to understand how the system work. But I would classify Barack Obama and Kamala Harris as non-white proxy how the system work. But I would classify Barack Obama and Kamala Harris as non-white proxy how the system work. But I would classify Barack Obama and Kamala Harris as non-white proxy. Don't believe me? Then come up and ask me and debate whether or not their policies have been racist. I being a veteran of a foreign war, I understand and probably pay more attention to foreign policy. No, I ain't gonna say I pay more attention to foreign policy than domestic policy, but I give them equal weight. Because what goes on overseas impacts us here domestically. If you don't believe me, then just wait till this hopefully doesn't happen, but just wait till there's a full-blown war in the wait till this hopefully doesn't happen, but just wait till there's a full-blown war in the wait till this hopefully doesn't happen, but just wait till there's a full-blown war in the Middle East. And you're going to see how it's going to impact you here domestically when war in the Middle East. And you're going to see how it's going to impact you here domestically when gas is $8 a gallon cause them Arab countries are all now uniting around each other, including Saudi Arabia and Iran, who the United States has played against each other. Remember, I have to be careful about this we, because that we don't include me. But when the U.S. was supporting Saddam Hussein, even giving him chemical weapons to use against the Iranians, okay? And Saudi Arabia also was instrumental in U.S. foreign policy in antagonizing and trying to isolate Iran. Guess what? Iran and Saudi Arabia have now normalized relations. All those Middle Eastern countries, even the ones who were proxies of the United States, who allowed the U.S. to have bases in their country, they're even saying that if this pop off, they're neutral. They're not even going to allow the U.S. to use its bases. You're not going to do any kind of airstrikes. You're not going to send any kind of interceptors to intercept Iranian missiles headed for Israel. No, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. Okay? So these people aren't being truthful with you, and whether we get Kamala Harris in it. Okay? So these people aren't being truthful with you, and whether we get Kamala Harris or we get Donald Trump, it's likely that it's going to pop off, because both of them are AIPAC puppets. Didn't y'all see Donald Trump with the yarmulke on the other day? You know, much like Barack Obama had a yarmulke on, just like all of those presidents go down to APEC and pledge their fealty to a foreign country. Let's just be real about it. Going back all the way back to John F. Kennedy was warning us about AIPAC and the Israelis interfering in our internal politics. Jimmy Carter, a Democratic president, well, JFK was too, warned us about them. Other people in Congress, Carter, a Democratic president, well, JFK was too, warned us about them. Other people in Congress, all the years, spent plenty of treasure, but now we want to spend our blood too to back some people that the whole world has said is engaged in genocide. Yeah, I kind of got off topic there for a second. I'm talking about Barack Obama and you know, him talking down to black men because either they won't vote or they supporting Trump. And I don't understand why they want to support Trump. I really don't. But I do understand that the Democratic Party has been playing in our faces by nominating people who have harmed black people all throughout their careers. The party has been playing in our faces by nominating people who have harmed black people all throughout their careers. The party has been playing in our faces by nominating people who have harmed black people all throughout their careers. The party has been playing in our faces by nominating people who have harmed black people all throughout their careers. From Hillary Clinton to Kamala Harris, the prosecutor, want to play it right. Well, she hurt black people and others. And I am an abolitionist, so I can tell you a lot about others. And I am an abolitionist, so I can tell you a lot about her attorney. Because I was reading about others. And I am an abolitionist, so I can tell you a lot about her attorney. Because I was reading about the things she was doing in real time on New Abolitionist Radio. Please go check out that podcast on the Black Talk Radio Network. It's a podcast that me and a couple of abolitionists put together back in 2011 or 2012. And our primary message was to inform the American people that slavery was not abolished. Read the 13th Amendment, read some of these state constitutions. And that right there is the root cause of why we have what they call mass incarceration, but really a continuation of slavery. So I was reporting on that stuff real time. But Barack Obama thinks that we should be just excited to, as we were to support him, again, that we don't include me because I didn't vote for him in 2008 or 2012. He was too vague. He wasn't offering anything concrete. Did some good things come out of his administration? Yeah. I'm anti-abortion. I'm pro, but I'm also pro-choice. That's between that woman, her doctor, and the God. And hopefully she includes the man in the decision and what have you. But I'm not, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. And the only good thing that I see that came from, well, that's not the only good thing, but one of the good things I've seen on the abortion issue is that by expanding healthcare, we were able to reduce abortions to all-time historic lows. But you don't hear the Democratic Party bragging about that. You don't hear Barack Obama blowing his own horn about, hey, y'all say y'all against abortions. Well, guess what? When you expand healthcare, you reduce the need for a person to even have an abortion, right? Because you know why? They want to keep that as a hot button issue. That's why they didn't codify it in Congress during his first term when they had the votes to codify abortion law into a federal law. They want to keep that issue dangling for those one issue voters. And that's a very powerful motive right there. Okay. But I just don't understand why the Democrats don't run on that. Hey, let's expand healthcare, get everybody healthcare. And then if you are conservative and you believe in the sanctity of life, here's a way to prevent babies from being aborted in the womb. All right. So anyway, and on the issue of abortion, did y'all know Kamala Harris, while she was Attorney General, that in California prisons, which throughout her tenure, and it didn't just start with her, but it was before her, but continued throughout her tenure, that they were sterilizing women in prison. And she didn't prosecute anyone. In fact, she helped to cover it up. Don't believe me? Go do your research. Go do your research. So I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. Let me see. The prominent Democrat, let me see. We have not seen the same kinds of energy, this is Obama talking, turn out in all corners of our neighborhood and communities as we saw when I was running. Again, that was a historic race, man. You was the first time a black person got to even get the Democratic nomination. Jesse Jackson didn't get the Democratic nomination. He didn't get it. I remember Bernie Sanders even endorsed Jesse Jackson back then and got slapped for it, But anyway, he said, now, I also want to say that this seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. There you go, singling us out. But, it's a lot of black, I ain't going to say a lot, but there is a percentage of black women voters, and I've seen them, out here when I go to protests, when I go to community events in Gaston County, North Carolina, black women be manning them Republican booths. They be posting their pictures and stuff like that with Trump, with other Republican, politicians and what have you. So again, why are you singling out the brothers? Barack Obama always been a hater, if you ask me. So he goes on to say, if you don't mind just for a second, I got to speak to y'all and say that when you have a choice that is this clean, well, what's clean about genocide, Barack Obama? What's clean? What's clean about it? This genocide is actually triggering my PTSD as a Gulf War veteran. It's a such thing called a moral injury. If you don't know what a moral injury is, it is when you are either forced or coerced to do something that goes against your conscience, to do something that goes against your spiritual values, your moral values. That is what a moral injury is. That's why a lot of us vets are having trouble integrating back into this society, a society that turned many of us into war criminals, had us committing all kind of atrocities against non-white people around the world. That's why so many veterans unalive themselves. They become disillusioned with this notion called justice. They become disillusioned with this image of America being a force for good in the world, of representing freedom and democracy. And it's all BS. It's all BS. So I don't see nothing clean about any person who has pledged their support to continuing a genocide, even in violation of U.S. law. So the person that said they voting for the prosecutor, what are your thoughts on her being an international war criminal? Unindicted, I'll give you that. She's an unindicted war criminal, but she has given her full-throated support to her husband's peoples over there in Israel. Okay? That again, the duplicity, the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy, it's just, it's just tiring. It's very tiring to me. Let's get back to Obama. He said, when on the one hand, you have somebody who grew up like you, went to college and with you understands the struggles and the pain and the joy that comes from those experiences. Okay, let's stop right there. Kamala Harris did not grow up like me. Kamala Harris did not struggle with me like me. Kamala Harris wasn't subject to the poverty draft. If you don't know what the poverty draft is, the poverty draft is when a young person who sees his siblings or her siblings going into taking on all this college debt, seeing their parents putting up the mortgage for the house to guarantee a loan for you to go to college. We decided to go into the military for 4 years to get the GI Bill, okay? Kamala Harris wasn't forced to make that choice. She wasn't. She didn't grow up in a single-parent household, whether or not that black father was missing because he was just trifling. Because I don't understand how any man, regardless of his skin color, can turn his back on some seed that he know he planted. Okay? Or whether he was incarcerated by people like Kamala Harris. Okay? So please spare me. I didn't grow up with 2 college professors making 6 figures a year and didn't have to worry about whether or not they could afford to send their children to college. I bet Kamala Harris's parents, no matter for any length of time, never had to use SNAP benefits. Okay? Food stamps. So again, all skin folk ain't kin folk. All black people do not grow up with the same experiences. And as far as I can tell, I have nothing in common with this woman. I think I might be I'm a little bit more melanated than her. I'm a very light-skinned person. But that don't mean we the same. It doesn't mean we the same. She claims all her identities. I only claim one. I do acknowledge my European ancestry and my Native American ancestry, but I identify as a black person, as a black man. Okay? So I don't think Kamala Harris understands the struggles of seeing, while you're in the military, seeing your little brother get set up for a breaking and entering crime that he never committed. And because we couldn't afford to get him a top tier attorney, lost 10 years of his life on a North Carolina prison plantation and was innocent. No evidence presented. Did that happen to Kamala Harris' family like it happened to mine? Okay, so no. Stop lying, Barack Obama. This woman ain't had the experiences of black males in this country, or even the typical black females, who are the second highest targeted demographic for prison plantations. In case y'all haven't been paying attention, those numbers have been increasing every year. Goes on to say about Obama, talking down to black men. He says, it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly, that, you just aren't feeling the ideal of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. So now he wants to accuse them of misogyny. Okay? He wants to name call us. And let me not say us, because I'm not voting for Donald Trump. But you know what? I'll defend any black person or any person's right to vote however they want to. If they're open to asking me why I don't support the person they support now, I have no problem telling them. They want to ask me why I'm supporting who I'm supporting, I have no problem telling them. But I'm not going to belittle them for not thinking like how I think. See, I'm a student of Black scholars. I'm a student of Black master teachers. And Malcolm X told me not to look down on other people because they don't think how I think, because they don't think as fast as I think, because at one time I did not have the same acumen. I didn't know then what I know now. We all got some learning to do, and we should never put people down, especially within our own communities, for not thinking how we think. People have a difference of opinion. If you think their opinion is wrong, then give them a logical, policy-based analysis of why they shouldn't do this, that, or the other, or support this, that, or the other. What you ain't gonna do is sit up here and attack my brothers. However misguided they may be, dude, you grew up in Indonesia. You was raised by an Indonesian CIA asset who was down with the Bush administration, who was down with the Bush family when in that oil business, exploiting oil resources around the country. His stepdad helped come up with assassination lists. And don't y'all remember Mr. Obama was bragging and swagging about the unaliving list that he carried in his pocket? Do you not know this man unalive U.S. citizens? And they weren't white either. They were non-white. Simply because they had the gall to call out U.S. empire and the things that it was doing in its foreign policy and subjugating other people, particularly Muslims. Okay? So, yeah. I can't let this slide with Obama, who has the nickname of Obama in chief. He bombed more people with drones, unalived more innocent people, destroyed more villages than George Bush. That's why when they was dedicating that African American museum, and y'all see how Michelle Obama was all kissing on George Bush. Again, this the man that lied and got us into an unjust war, a war of an aggression. Again, Dr. King said character matters. Character matters. So, yes, Donald Trump is of poor character, but so is Barack Obama. If we really want to analyze the things they've done. So, but here I'm saying the ideal of a woman president, they used that with Hillary Clinton. And I remember this one Black woman who was a scholar. I can't remember her name right now. Very prominent scholar. Somewhat of a progressive thinker. And they was like asking her why she wasn't supporting Hillary Clinton. And she said, I support women, but not that woman. Okay? But not that woman. And for those that, I would like to ask Barack Obama, where was all this smoke for Black people, particularly during the 2020 primaries? Y'all do know Kamala Harris got no Black support. Very, 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 very little. Even though she said that Biden was a racist, or implied that he was a racist and talking about he supported segregation. And I was that little girl that went to a segregated school. Come on, Kamala. I think I'm older than you. But And Joe Biden smacked her down. He smacked her down. So she didn't have no support. Where was all this black support in 2020? Y'all supported, the majority of you supported a bona fide racist in Joe Biden over Kamala Harris. Say you didn't. As soon as that scamming, what's his name, James Clyburn, one of them 1960 era civil rights era protesters and activists, parlayed that into joining the U.S. government and did nothing to really bring about any kind of change, but he the one that led the way to get us to vote for that racist Joe Biden. He the one that a lot of black Democrats voted for Joe Biden's crime bill. And then Barack Obama appoints Hillary Clinton, even though she was saying racist things about him. Again, all of these racists ain't like Donald Trump. They ain't up front with it. They just don't come out and say these things. They do it quietly behind the scenes. What Barack Obama is engaging in is anti-black male racism. He's being a proxy. It ain't got nothing to do with this woman's gender. And mind you, that Kamala Harris has never run, and I did the research, she has never campaigned as the first black this or the first black that. She doesn't do identity politics. So why are you? Why is Barack Obama trying to promote that? It's got to be something more you could point to than her skin color or lack thereof. It's got to be something. So to just say that these men are misogynistic, and he's talking about the ones that's planning on voting for Trump, it could be another reason. But to go there and say this publicly and accuse these black men of being misogynist, where's your proof? I'm sure that there are a lot of males who don't want to vote for a female. I'm not one of them. But I shouldn't automatically assume that's why they don't support the prosecutor. I mean, not the prosecutor, the war criminal, the former prosecutor. So let me see, what else did Barack Obama say? Because, he goes on and on. I don't want to quote any of these conservatives or black conservatives and what they said, because it's not anything of substance. But this one guy did say, this is worth quoting. In addition, former DeKalb County, Georgia executive Vernon Jones, a longtime Democrat who joined the GOP in 2021, reacted on X by saying Obama was being dispatched by, quote, white liberals, unquote, to, quote, black mansplain, unquote, why fellow African Americans should vote for Harris. He said, no thanks, Bo. Blacks had enough of you and Kamala Harris. Okay, I don't know Bo, but I don't know this man. But it is like he trying to black-splain. It's really black man shaming. It ain't black-splaining. I don't need nobody to explain my views to anyone. I can express them myself, and we are expressing them ourselves. Again, I do not support Donald Trump. He's a warmonger. He's an international war criminal. He has carried out targeted assassinations around the world in violation of international law. He was interfering in the Venezuelan election. And I'll say this to Trump supporters, and because some of the black people that I talked to in my county, and this one older black man, he was about 10 years older than me, so he was in his 60s. He was complaining about there are a lot of non-white people south of the border in Gaston County and parts of North Carolina. Hell, I was out canvassing yesterday and I passed a construction crew doing work in the middle of Franklin Boulevard in Gastonia, and All I seen was these people. Every time I come across a crew, they are the majority of them. Now, do I blame them? No, I have no hate for immigrants, undocumented or otherwise, because I know the root cause of why people will pick up and leave their roots, where the parents and grandparents and great grandparents are buried. Excuse me, it takes a lot for a person to uproot their roots and pick up and go to a place where they might not even speak the language. Okay, and that's because of foreign policy. That is because the United States, under every president, Republican and Democrat, has adopted the 100 or so year old foreign policy of the Monroe Doctrine. You don't know what the Monroe Doctrine is? Go look it up. It's white supremacy. That's what it is. And then when you go into these countries, when they want to elect a socialist government, I don't give a damn what you think about socialism. I don't give a damn about what you think about communism. I don't care about what you think about capitalism. But if we gonna talk about democracy, those people have a right to choose the leaders that they want to choose. Right? And when they elect a socialist government, or even a communist government, even though I've done the research and there are no communist countries really in existence today. The closest thing you're going to get to communism is North Korea. China isn't a communist country. Russia isn't a communist country. A lot of these countries they're calling communists are really social democracies. European social democracies, South American social democracy, Caribbean social democracy, when we look at Cuba, who is still under sanctions and boycott since they decided to overthrow the racist, brutal regime of Batista back in 1959. And every president has supported those sanctions. And you think those people, no wonder they leave. It's not because the government is so bad. It's because of the external pressure the United States puts on them to cause their economies to fail, because you can't have any models of social democracy succeeding unless you're in Europe and you're white, or you're Israeli, because they practice socialism in their country. It's an apartheid system, but it's still socialism for the quote-unquote Jewish citizens who are mainly white people, Ashkenazis from Europe, America, Australia, Canada. These people aren't originally from that region. They just converted to a religion. Okay? But when you have a foreign policy that displaces and uproots these people, don't be surprised that they coming to you. You're the one who lied to everybody and said we the freest country on the earth, that we got all this democracy when we don't. We're the most incarcerated nation on this earth, and our so-called democracy is run by the oligarchs. Prove me wrong. You can't do it. So what else did Obama say? For his part, it brings up President Obama going on The Breakfast Club, one of them media platforms that's owned by white corporations. They just put black people behind the mic. Not a very serious, I ain't hating on Charlamagne the God or none of them. I don't like the type of rap music they promote. It undermines the values of the black community and the rest and the rest of the communities. Because black people aren't the number one consumers of this type of trash music. But Joe Biden went on there and he said, you ain't black if you vote for him. How insulting for this old degenerate white supremacist who is largely responsible for us becoming the most incarcerated nation. He didn't do it by himself. It was a bipartisan effort, Republicans and Democrats. Bill Clinton was the president. For him to tell somebody if they don't vote for him, they ain't black. I mean, why do y'all take that kind of lip off of these people? So now Joe Biden is the arbitrator of who's black or not. See what I'm saying? They always got smoke for us. But where's the smoke for the Jewish voters for Trump? Where's that smoke? Where's the smoke for the Hispanic voters for Trump? No, people like Barack Obama and them always picking on black people. It's racism, y'all. It's anti-black racism, any way you cut it. Some of these people might see Donald Trump as a felon, will be more prone to live felony restrictions that have been enacted in this modern era of Jim Crow. Again, it affects all people, but disproportionately non-white people and primarily black people. What else did Obama say? I think that's about it. It was something else that Barack Obama said, something about black women been having our backs or whatever. Yeah, some black women do have our backs, and we have their backs, right? But if he's referring to the Black Lives Matter movement, which I did not like, those three women hijacking a grassroots movement and turning it into a foundation and taking millions and millions of dollars from Democratic donors to then go and interrupt Bernie Sanders' campaign and leave Hillary Clinton alone. No, I ain't support them. But I have always been part of the anti-police terrorism movement. But I will remind you that Kamala Harris was the prosecutors that we were protesting. Okay? Let's not forget, or I shouldn't say forget, because a lot of people don't know. They don't know anything to forget. Remember when Mike Brown got unalived in Ferguson? Do you know all of that heavy, militarized, military-grade weapons, armored personnel carriers, and things of that nature? Y'all remember those images? Do y'all not remember the Obama administration, which included Joe Biden, the racist, militarized the police, gave them all kind of weapons, military-grade weapons, okay? And then he enacted a no-fly zone over Ferguson. Why? Black people didn't have any planes that they was going to be dropping kerosene, munitions from, like what happened to Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. Why he put a no-fly zone? We don't have any fighter jets or attack helicopters that we was going to, deploy over the skies of Ferguson to take out the police. We ain't have none of that. Why he enact a no-fly zone, y'all? Think about it. Think about it. Because they didn't want those news helicopters overhead getting footage of what them police was doing to us, doing to our community. See, when you're blinded by things like skin color, and that's the only thing that matters to you, you get, I really don't understand it. You understand the concept that Clarence Thomas is a black man, but he is upholding racism in this country. You here in North Carolina, you understand Mark Robinson is a proxy for racism. But what you don't seem to understand that some of these proxies of racism have D's behind their name. or you just don't want to do the research, or you just don't want to acknowledge the truth. Because as far as I can tell, both gangs, and I'm calling them political gangs, Republicans and Democrats, y'all act like gangs. Y'all act like gangs. We saw Republicans do drive-by shootings on caravans of Biden supporters. That wasn't right. But that's what y'all remind me of, gangs. You lie, tell lies. Both of you tell lies, lie on each other. But more accurately, I should describe it as a high school rivalry. It's a high school rivalry, pointing to the immature nature of children in high school. I'm down with the blue team no matter what. I'm riding and dying with the blue team. It don't matter what the blue team represents or is currently supporting. You gonna represent your colors because you in the gang. Same with the red team. Y'all are no different. And I'm just an objective person who calls it like I see it. So if Kamala Harris does lose, don't blame us. See, that's what they setting us up to do. That's what Barack Obama, that's what Hillary Clinton was doing. Blaming black people who didn't want to support a woman who called us super predators, who got out there and pushed Joe Biden's crime bill, who supported her husband's 1996 telecommunication bill, which killed black radio independent ownership, which is one of the reasons 17, 18 years ago I had to create the Black Talk Radio Network, where black people can have honest, objective, analytical conversations about our condition behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. So, I don't think, I guess nobody has a intelligent argument based on policy to explain why they supporting this person or the other. Again, all are welcome. You can come up. You can request to come up. And I will start regularly doing these broadcasts. I know I've been off the air for a very, very long time. I mean, I do videos. I do little short podcasts, but not like I used to. I've been struggling with things in my life, not to lay them on you. But we still going strong. Check out Time for Awakening, their podcast on blacktalkradionetwork.com. Brother Elliott is the producer of that show. We've had on people like Cornel West, who's running for president. He's on the ballot here in North Carolina. I've interviewed people like Bob Johnson about his support for reparations and what have you. Yes, I'm talking about the billionaire founder of BET. And I've interviewed him about reparations, even though I don't like what he did with that property and the things that it became known for. You know, first went from being conscious, respectable media to ratchet media. So, yeah, but he does support reparations and had actually done the homework and came up with a plan that said it'll take about $1 trillion to pay African Americans, the descendants of victims of slavery, the victims of Jim Crow, current victims of modern day slavery, y'all call mass incarceration, and $1 trillion. Hell, that's the Pentagon budget right there. Hell, they've given more than that to Israel. At this rate, it'll be pretty soon that in a short period of time, we've given $1 trillion to Ukraine. So I don't want to hear this about we ain't got the money or this, that, or the other. Taxpayer money go for all kind of stuff, except for repairing the damage done to black people in this country. And Barack Obama didn't support reparations, didn't have one single reparations hearing during his administration. Even though H.R. 40 was filed by John Conyers, I believe back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. That's how long H.R. 40 been in Congress, y'all. Kamala Harris, when she was asked about reparations, I ain't doing nothing specifically for black people. But if you a trans murderer in prison, I'm going to get you the health care you need. Please. They can do something for everybody else, but when it comes specifically for black people, we can't do that. Joe Biden definitely didn't support reparations. So again, give me a logical argument of why I should vote for the felon or the war criminal and not the physician. For those that's talking about fact check all of the bases of your thoughts and comments, before I come on here, I've already done that. I just don't speak off the top of my dome. History was my number one subject through high school. I started reading before I even went to elementary school. And history, reading about things past, has always interested me. So I don't get on here and spread rumors and lies. I fact check my stuff because I take myself as a serious journalist. Okay? But you welcome. Like somebody tried to fact check me the other day when I said Kamala Harris lying. She was on the Howard Stern show, one of P. Diddy's party guests. Howard Stern, that Howard Stern, yes, even after all this thing came down, she went on Howard Stern's show, because that's her husband's people, and was lying on Donald Trump and saying that he gave Putin some COVID tests during the early days of the pandemic. I'm like, really? That's what you're talking about? And I was like, let me go look this up. Let me do the research. So I looked it up and I gave them the quotes from the sources. The only source that they come from is Bob Woodard's book. It isn't corroborated by any witnesses, any official documentation, no news reports. They looked into it. It couldn't be substantiated. So therefore, it's classified as misinformation and disinformation. And I provided that to a person. I wrote about how she lied. And again, I noted that he's a liar, but let's not pretend like she don't lie. And this person going to tell me that I need to do my research. Obviously, I just did my research. It's in quotes. That's not my thoughts that I wrote. I'm quoting this from articles and research. That's what quotation marks mean, right? So I came back at her. I did more research. I went to ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, is there any articles or sources other than Bob Woodard's book that proves that or states that Donald Trump sent Putin COVID tests? Like Russia can't come up with their own COVID test. No, it's just this anti-Russia-phobic rhetoric that plays well among American whites. Now they want to try to get black people to jump all on the anti-Russian bandwagon. Again, as a student of history, Russians did not engage in the trade of human beings. They call it the slave trade. They didn't colonize Africa. They weren't going around assassinating the leaders of African nations fighting for independence. That was the United States. Russia doesn't have the world's largest incarceration population filled with black and non-white people, or white people too. There's white people enslaved here in the United States. But, why should I hate Russia? What they do to me? What they do to my ancestors? So I do my research. And anybody can reach out to me at any time with some facts of their own. Anything that I say that is incorrect, that isn't credible, then point it out to me and point me to your sources that shows that I'm incorrect. I do not lie on people. I have no incentive to lie. Again, I'm an unaffiliated registered voter in North Carolina who doesn't belong to anybody's gang. I have no incentive to lie to people. I've been a journalist for 17 years. I've interviewed hundreds of people in that 17 years. So, yeah, I always fact check. Let me see. Secure border. Let's look at this comment from David. Secure border and economy are the top. Without those, you will have no freedoms, no voting. We don't really have freedom now. I'm free. I'm out here walking around and stuff. You know, I am. But it's a whole lot of people that's enslaved on plantations. And then also there are degrees of freedom in this country. Let's just be real about it. Okay? And if me having money in my pocket depends on me oppressing other people in the world and stealing their resources, keep your money. The love of money is the root of all evil. Okay? I am a follower of Yeshua. I am a disciple of Yeshua. So you can't convince me that giving me butter biscuits will make me turn my back on my values. And I do agree that borders do need to be secure. I do not believe in open borders. I just simply don't. It doesn't make sense. There should be an orderly fashion to all of that. But again, our borders wouldn't be, what I'm trying to get through to you, David, and other people is our borders wouldn't be overwhelmed if U.S. foreign policy in their home countries were not, happening. Let me pull that person up. Somebody tried to come up, I believe. Let me look. Let's see. All right, I missed that. Y'all had to bear with me. I'm still learning. But if you want to come on as a guest, I think you had to have something like 1,000 followers or something like that to come up. But if you want to come up, but David, I'm not going to disagree with you on immigration. But those people aren't immigrating here because of the American dream. Maybe they believe that propaganda, maybe it don't. They're coming here because we keep interfering in their home country's internal affairs. Do you know that the Mexican government, they just had an election where this woman who is an anti-genocide, she's Jewish, but she's anti-genocide. She just got elected. I think she's been described as a democratic socialist. And she pretty much won in a landslide along with other members of her party. So they trying to clean up the corruption because it was a constitutional measure on the ballot as well. And the people passed it to clean up their judicial system because they got these lifetime judges who take money and bribes and stuff from the cartels as well as from foreign governments. Do you know that the Biden administration, let's say the Biden-Harris administration, is right now trying to interfere in that process of them, term limiting those federal judges down there and rooting out corruption. Okay? And when you have corrupt governments, that's going to cause people to flee. When you see all of this death and destruction and poverty, you're going to try to get you and your family out any way you can. But I would just like you people who immigration that's your number one issue, hold Donald Trump to account and tell him to stop messing with Venezuela. He tried to pull a coup the last time he was in power to overthrow Maduro. And I don't care if a person don't like socialism, don't like communism. That don't give you any right to dictate to other people what kind of governments they elect. All human beings have a right to self-determination, and the majority of their human beings. So I don't get into that type of Cold War rhetoric with these people. It's just a trick of the enemy of all working class people. So that's the only thing I ask you to consider on immigration. We wouldn't have all this immigration if we wasn't meddling in all these countries around the world and doing things. So somebody talking about a conviction being overturned. I don't know about that. You're talking about Donald Trump, but he's still a felon. And if it ends up being Donald Trump, I hope he remembers that he's a felon. And he is credited with signing the First Step Act into law that passed very progressive reforms on the prison plantation. Of course, he ain't ended, but it was some very meaningful legislation, and it was bipartisan. It was Republicans and Democrats that pushed that legislation. And I will hope that Donald Trump will remember that he's a felon and that we have felony disenfranchisement in this country. And it is through the work of progressives that he's even able to vote as a resident of New York. Because if he was in Florida, I know the people of Florida voted to restore felons' voting rights, but I think Ron DeSantis did something to overturn it or whatever. But it's still a lot of states where, well, I hope Donald Trump remember that and he do something to end felony disenfranchisement. Okay, but I doubt it. I doubt he will, but I could understand why some people might think he might do something. He might do a Second Step Act and get further reforms. Hell, maybe we can get him to support the bill in Congress to end slavery by repealing the 13th Amendment, which does not abolish slavery, y'all. Anything that says slavery and involuntary servitude shall be abolished except as punishment for crime means that they didn't abolish slavery. They just set new parameters under which a person can be enslaved. Okay, so those are my thoughts about that on the freedom stuff, and whether or not his conviction rate or his convictions are overturned. Okay. Somebody said, just like, who is this? Kendi or Kenda? Just like the U.S. is still participating in modern day slavery with our prison system. Amen. That's the truth. That's the truth. I've been trying to get out to the American people since 2012. New Abolitionist Radio. Go check out that podcast. It's no longer active, but there are years worth of podcasts that you can go back and listen to these constitutional lawyers explain to you the legalese of that type of language in these state constitutions and the federal constitution that created a loophole for the continuation of slavery. Okay. Yeah. I remember Kanye West. And Kanye West isn't always an effective communicator. And I'm not a Kanye West fan, but I'm really not a fan of anyone musically. I'm an old hip hop head, y'all. If I'm a fan of anybody, it's Public Enemy. If we talking about rap, I'm an X-Clan man, you know. Poor Righteous Teachers, KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions. I don't listen to this modern rap that's dominating our airways, that's telling us to unalive each other, to treat our women like trash, and to normalize the raping of women. I mean, nobody should be shocked that what P. Diddy is being accused of and other people in that industry, hell, it was in the music. It shouldn't be a shock to you that they was actually living that lifestyle. Including all the record executives and what have you, the Clive Davises of the world, who introduced us to, gangster rap, made it mainstream. So yeah, 21st century slavery, y'all, still exists. Still exists. We have yet to finish the job. If you live in North Carolina, there is a bill. I can't remember it's HB something, but just look up North Carolina bill to change to eliminate involuntary servitude. Because those are the games they play with us. Like North Carolina Constitution actually did abolish slavery. It says that slavery is abolished. Period. Let's use grammar here and sentence structure. Period. But then in a separate section sentence, it says involuntary servitude is permitted. And I'm paraphrasing. Well, the last time I checked involuntary servitude, I checked the dictionary. Involuntary servitude means the same thing as slavery. Slavery is forced servitude, right? Involuntary suggests that it's through force that you getting them to serve. So yeah, that's a very big issue that neither Trump nor Kamala Harris is running on. And there's bills actually in Congress and in some of these states, but I don't see Democrats running on it. And I had worked with the Democratic Party here in North Carolina. The Gaston County Democrats invited me to be a guest speaker at one of their meetings when I gave them the rundown on the North Carolina Constitution and how it did not abolish slavery. And the Democratic Party here in North Carolina adapted it, made it part of their state party platform. Okay. But ain't none of them running on it. They ain't making it part of the conversation. Now, again, I will vote a straight Democratic ticket because Republicans need to be punished in the state of North Carolina. All of these houses being swept off their foundation, that's because of the weakening of the building codes and regulations to allow these developers to throw up these cheap houses for as little money as possible and then charge you $500,000 for a house that, if it floods, gonna float down the road in a hurricane. They need to be punished for that. They need to be punished for their attacks on the First Amendment speech in this country in response to protests around the Confederate monuments that happened in our state, which I was a major part of the one here in Gaston County, and we still fighting to get it removed. But they passed a law to try to protect it. Make it again. They need to be punished. They need to be punished for appointing Mark Robinson and picking him to be governor. Yeah, Mark Robinson, the black guy who these news reports have uncovered that he used to frequent porn sites and making all of these racist and just disgusting comments. He's really a disgusting person. Republicans as a whole need to be punished for that. I see Donald Trump is distancing himself from Mark Robinson. He won't have nothing to do with him. So what is Mark doing? He's going to different events and having a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump standing behind him. That dude is pathetic. He's an embarrassment. And Republicans in the state of North Carolina need to be punished for that. They are anti-freedom. They have taken power away from local governments. The Republicans used to always talk about big government and all this and that. But then they get in power and what do? They do the things the big government does. Taking the decisions to remove Confederate monuments out of the hands of the local county commissioners. Come on. How is that not fascism? How is that not big government? Okay. Imagine trying to vote while being the occupying force on indigenous lands. I would need more context. I don't know what you're talking about. I do agree that the United States is occupying indigenous land that they took through genocide and all of that, which again is how black people, and I'm talking to black voters or even white voters who are on the Democratic plantation, y'all claim to be woke, right? And y'all will mention some of these past abuses, the enslavement of Africans. You'll talk about the extermination of the indigenous population. And you woke because you know that, right? And you stand against it. But then you're supporting a candidate, and this applies to Donald Trump too, but Donald Trump not claiming to be woke. MAGAs ain't pretending to be woke. And I don't mean woke in a pejorative. I mean woke in the original meaning that I'm aware, I'm awake, I'm woke, I'm aware of these laws, I'm aware of these policies, I'm aware of this history, I'm woke. Okay? And Republican activists deliberately without and propagandize that term to make it mean something that it doesn't mean. And I blame Democrats for playing identity politics and trying to adapt the lingo of African Americans when they're on their campaigns and stuff. You know, I was disgusted by Nancy Pelosi with them other showcase black people taking a knee and putting on a kente cloth around their neck. That's just disgusting to me. But you then will support, you claim to be woke, but you supporting a woman and a man who's morally broke. They're morally broken, y'all. How else would you describe a genocide? A supporting for that. Kamala Harris has had her opportunity to fully distance herself from Joe Biden's policy. But Joe Biden said, hey, don't act like it's all me. Kamala and my staff is fully integrated. She's been involved in every decision, right? So that includes the decision to continuing to fund a white supremacist settler colony. And that's what Israel is. It ain't got nothing to do with the Torah. It ain't got nothing to do with Judaism. That's why you see hundreds of thousands of Jews protesting this genocide, but you supporting this genocide by the person you casting a vote for. You ain't woke. You morally broke. You are broken. Barack Obama and Joe Biden stole the souls of black people. I remember Public Enemy had that track. Who stole the soul? Soul. Who stole the soul? There'll be Barack Obama. There'll be Joe Biden. There'll be Hillary Clinton. That'll be the leadership of the DNC who have turned black people by the millions into genocide supporters, to supporters of global racism and white supremacy, who have confused them so thoroughly. I give it to Democrats, man. They are more astute at practicing racism than Republicans are. Republicans got their black proxies of racism, but Democrats have black proxies of racism who are far better at the game than the black Republican proxies of racism. They'll run on all this symbolism. They'll talk about greens in the bathtub. They'll tweet out their music playlists and invite all these black celebrities, these rappers to come shake their booty on the stage. Just disgusting, man. Just disgusting, man. Aren't you insulted that that's how they pandering to you? By getting celebrities. So, but I feel you, bro. Ain't nothing we could do about it right now because we don't have any administrations that will deal fairly with the indigenous people that are on these reservations and what have you. I think the Green Party would. And so I'm fighting for the future. I'm voting for Jill Stein and the Green Party to help them get 5% because I'm playing the long game. I am under no illusion that Jill Stein is going to become the next president of the United States. But I do know that if the Green Party gets 5% of the popular vote, that from here going forward, they will have access to the ballot and don't have to collect signatures or pay a bunch of money and do all this extra work to just get on the ballot. No longer will the Democratic Party be able to spend tens of millions of dollars on lawyer fees to try to get another party nominees kicked off the ballot. That's anti-democracy, man. Then you want to try to act like democracy's on the ballot and you engaged in all this anti-democratic activity. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't allow these people to keep playing in my face. I only got so many years left on this planet Earth. And I'm not going to keep doing the same. I'll let y'all trick me into, I ain't going to say y'all tricked me. I knew what I was doing in 2020. I was very concerned about Trump, his assassinations and on the global stage of these other leaders pushing us towards more military conflict. I understand he's a tool of the military-industrial complex, but I also knew Joe Biden was a racist. When we was out there protesting in 2020, some people tried to make it about Joe Biden. I'm riding with Biden. I was like, no, the fuck we ain't. Keep that out of here. We hear about this Confederate monument and institutional racism in our county. We ain't out here campaigning for no Joe Biden, so keep that riding with Biden shit to yourself. That's not what we out here for. But I did. I cast a ballot for Joe Biden. I did that against my better judgment. I fell for the scare tactics. But no more. That's the only time I've been got when it comes to politics. And I regret voting for this white supremacist who is funding an unprecedented genocide. Not just funding, but sending military troops, putting them in harm's way to sustain a racist colony of the United States in the Middle East. It's all about the oil. They don't care nothing about protecting Jews. It's all about the oil, man. And being able to threaten these other countries, these oil-producing countries, that if they don't do this, that, and the other on the production of oil to control prices to our liking, then we you know what? We're going to invade you like we did Iraq. We're going to invade you like we did Syria. We're going to make up some shit and act like it's a war on terror. And we're going to illegally occupy these countries. We're going to kill civilians and claim that the quote-unquote terrorist was hiding in the civilian population. Give me a break, dude. I served in the Gulf War. I had a top secret security clearance. I know what you did. And I know what you're still doing. And you're turning our young people into war criminals. And you're getting them maimed and dying for stuff that ain't gonna benefit us as working class people. So no. Let's see. See if we got any more comments. Again, the floor is open. If anybody wants to come up, let me see, it's 12:17. I do need to go out and canvass some voters. It's mostly I've been canvassing black voters and unaffiliated voters. And I'm not out there to convince them to vote for anybody as POTUS. I'm out there to convince them that the Democrats in our state will be better on the issues of affordable housing, public education funding, and public safety. That's what I'm out there to do. I'm out there carrying water for the Democrats. I'm just out there making a statement of fact as it pertains to the stuff that's happening in my state. But I am joining the Green Party. I think, I know the Green Party doesn't accept donations from billionaires and corporate donors. You know, the Democrats claim they against Citizens United, then stop taking money then. from them? What if every person registered as a Democrat just donated $5 a month to the DNC? Or $1 a month, $12 a year? You know, that's what I was asking people. That's what I asked people to donate to the Black Talk Media Project by going to the Black Talk Radio Network and hitting that donate tab. It goes to our nonprofit media company. $12 a year. That's all it takes, $1 a month. If you listen to our podcast, if you think what we do is of value, you have to support us as independent voices. So I've been able to just barely scraping by, but I've been able to maintain that platform for 17 years, going on 18 years in November. 20 years, you become an institution. And we're well on our way of being an institution in the black media space. So I don't want to hear this from Democrat apologists about, well, you need money to win. Well, fund your party. Tell your party to stop taking money from billionaires, stop taking corporate PAC money. Turn down. Bernie Sanders did it. And look what the DNC did to him. I'm not even going to get into all of that. But he proved that people will support you financially. Small donors. Barack Obama proved that. I think the average donation was $20. Okay? So why they still taking money from these corporations? Why do we see all these rich, wealthy, filthy people at the DNC convention sitting up there in those high-rise boxes like overseers, but really the masses, the people on the stage is the overseers, the people providing the money sitting up in the box looking down on everybody else, those the masters. You think them people ain't getting what they paying for, but you not. So I don't want to hear that excuse. The Green Party, I went to their North Carolina chapter website, and they asked that if you can, based on your income, to make a donation. You can make it monthly, you can make it yearly. They asked, I think, anywhere from $6 to $16 a year, something like that. I'm joining the Green Party. I'm going to contribute what I can, but more importantly, I'm going to contribute my time and my media skills to growing the Green Party here in North Carolina, because we need an alternative to the Republicans and the Democrats. We have the Libertarian Party right now, but the Libertarian Party, although they have ballot access there, they just really, not visible. They're not really visible like that. But I support Green Party platform over the Libertarian platform. I do mess with some of the Libertarians. I do agree with smaller government. I do agree we need to end the drug war. I do believe, like Libertarians, that we need to end this mass incarceration, which is really slavery. So the more people on our ballot, the better. That's real democracy. When you have more to vote for and more people participating in debates than just those two. So that's why I'm voting for Jill Stein. I'm under no illusion she's going to become the POTUS. I don't know. She could. She on all the ballots. What if of all the people, 70% of Americans say they against this genocide, right? So I will say that about the American people. They say they against it. Well, then if you really against it, show us by voting for the anti-genocide candidate. The only candidate that's anti-war. I don't want to see our young people get sent off to Ukraine. They ain't got nothing to do with us. We don't even got democracy here at home. What the fuck? I'm going to give a fuck about some damn Ukrainians. They shouldn't have been messing around and finding out. Okay, I do know the history, have watched documentaries, have read news articles outside of the United States about how that conflict started. It goes back to really the Obama administration when there was a coup in 2011 and that right-wing fascist government with Nazi elements came to power, and started attacking their Russian-speaking fellow citizens in the East. That's how that started. They ain't got nothing to do with us, y'all. Why we keep sending that money over there? Don't give me this song and dance about standing up to Putin and all that. Man, Putin ain't got 180 bases in countries around the world. 180 countries around the world. Other than Ukraine, name another country it invaded and meddled in their politics and overthrew their government. In the last 20 years, I can give you at least 4 that the United States has done. We could talk about Honduras. We could talk about Libya. We could talk about, it was another African country behind Mali, where all of these military people in those countries who were trained in the United States, probably at the School of Americas, then went back and did a military coup against their government with the full support of Democrats and Republicans. Stand on principles. Have some character. Or else we just gonna keep getting the same old. And if we're expecting different results, then isn't that the definition of being insane? I think so. I really think so. So, anyway, that's my broadcast for today. I'm going to try to come up with a regular schedule and come on. But I do need to keep it moving, to get out here and put in a couple of hours out here knocking on these doors and, making sure people know if they're going to vote, they need to bring their IDs, and there are only certain forms of ID that are acceptable. That's some of the literature I'm handing out. And to encourage them to vote straight Democratic ticket here in the state of North Carolina. I don't want to hear nothing about Harris. I don't want to hear nothing about Trump. I don't support either of them, and that's not why I'm out here canvassing. I'm out here canvassing for turnout and making sure that people who are registered haven't been kicked off the voter registration rolls and made inactive and not purged. I don't care who they supporting. Every American has a right to cast a ballot. All right, with that said, peace and blessing to all.